Welcome back to Be The Effect, where little shifts create big change. And if you don't already know it, you know who I am. I'm Lisa, mostly equal parts, grounded and woo-woo, here to remind you that your body is always talking, sometimes louder than your mind. Today, we're tuning in to patterns in your body and energy, something you may have already noticed or be aware of if you're a Louise Hay convert like myself and you're familiar with the world of metaphysical well-being. If not, here's a taster for you to start with. So the thing is, our bodies hold the stories and keep the score, so to speak. Think of it like tension, discomfort, fatigue or blocked energy, as well as more advanced physical disease, can all reveal patterns. And when we pay attention, it's like our body is whispering, or in my case, sometimes shouting really loudly, exactly what it needs from you. There are some really great books on this too. Feel free to DM me for the list. Body patterns can be obvious, right? Like stiffness in your shoulders from carrying too much, or tension headaches from holding stress, and sore jaw from clenching your teeth. However, they can also be subtle, like this just constant heaviness in your chest, or that tight flutter in your stomach, or your energy that dips and spikes in ways that feel familiar with things that you are experiencing. Think of when you go to an interview and your body is telling you you want to go to the loo all the time, or your butterflies are coming. And so that is where our body patterns show up. In what we are experiencing, our body lets us know how it's actually coping with that and what our thoughts are doing to impact that effect on our body. And as with thoughts and relationships, guess what? It's not just about what's present, but yes, you guessed it, also about what's missing. So what energy, what movement or relaxation is absent that could create more flow and ease in your life and in your body? What things could you be incorporating in as a pattern in your daily routines that would support you with those things, with your energy, with your movement, with your relaxation? What could you be bringing in? Like, I've often noticed patterns in my own body. So, for example, tension creeps in when I overcommit. Fatigue comes when I ignore rest, when I think I should be doing this, and the shouldy-shouldsters come and visit, and I do things over and above my level of energy. And whilst sometimes we do have to do that to live our lives, when we do that all the time, when we ignore rest all the time, that's when we end up in a fatigue space. Or when we have that overall subtle tightness when you're resisting something important. I notice that my body will just have this tension in it. I recently noticed that I was standing in the kitchen often, and my whole sacral area would be pulled up tight and the muscles would be all tense, like I was waiting for something to happen, ready to launch. And that, in hindsight, was related to grief and huge things that were going on in my life at the time. So aside from that, there are situations also where some of these patterns are inherited. So my body responds in ways that is learned from family dynamics, but also past conditioning. Think of the ways that children do the same things as their parents. They move in the same way. You might have the same aches or pains that your parents have. And so you'll notice that those things pass on generationally through that. You might have similar issues as your parent, and it comes down to our bodies keeping the score because we actually have the same thinking, we have the same relationships, we have the same patterns as what has happened or gone before, and so we repeat those and they show up in the same way in our bodies. Others have formed over time, as you know. Even with our thinking, our responses, they form over time depending on the experiences that we go through. Same with what shows up in our body, as I just said, like habits, posture, repeated reactions, even energetic blocks. Think of how your body stores the stress if you're at a computer all day, every day, and you never go outside. You end up with those hunched shoulders, the sore neck, the sore back, and the tight core because you're not stretching that out enough. You're not having that space for that. And it was definitely something I wasn't aware of until I slowed down enough to notice, or they become big enough that you can't miss them anymore. So awareness, as you know now, allows choice. So when we notice where there's tension, where there's fatigue or discomfort recurring, we can pause, we can pivot, and we can practice differently. And that ripple effect shows up in our energy, it shows up in our mood, and it becomes an added bonus because it shows up in our relationships. When we're not tense, when we're not exhausted, when our mood is better, when our energy's higher, our relationships are easier to navigate. And people feel better around us because we took care of ourselves, so we are in a better space to be around other people. And it's noticeable. So, your reflection, not homework this week, because I don't give homework, as you well know, is to notice one sensation or habitual tension in your body. Ask yourself, what might this be trying to tell me? Do I need to rest? Do I need to say no? I felt that today when I got a call asking for something from me, and I did not have the space to be able to give it. I felt the pressure to give it. My old self would have said, yeah, all right, I'll do it, even though I didn't have the space and the capacity to do that. But today I felt that sinking feeling in my stomach. For me, that is something that shows up. I get a sinking tight feeling in my stomach, and I realized I had to say no for myself. I started to pass it off on my husband and blame him, but I realized I had to step in. That was my moment where I realized I needed to step in for myself and say no, to put that boundary in, to change the pattern of saying yes to everybody and looking after myself so I can show up in another situation more rested, more energized, and more capable of completing whatever that thing is to a better degree. Maybe, do I need more time outside or more regular breaks from my computer? So notice those for yourself. Notice when you're saying yes when you should be saying no. Notice when you are at the computer and you're starting to get a headache and your eyes hurt. Take a break, take your glasses off. Maybe those are things in your patterns that you could be doing for yourself. Tune into the energy, the pattern, and any connection to recurring thoughts or relationship dynamics that show up with this. And remember, there is no fixing needed. This is not about fixing you. You are not broken. None of us are broken. We are simply noticing. We are simply bringing things into our awareness to allow shifts, to allow ourselves to be able to put that light on and become conscious of what we are doing. This is your first step to being the effect in your body and energy, creating more awareness and conscious choice in how you show up each day. Next time, we'll move on to step 2, the pause, and explore how noticing patterns gives you the space to create choice, shift energy, and step into new possibilities. For now, pay attention to your body, feel into it, notice the patterns. Both tension and absence have something to teach you about your patterns and what's going on for you. Thanks for listening and joining me again I'm Lisa, and this is Be the Effect. Until next time, be aware, the world needs more wares.